Here we go, Steelers. Here we go. Here we go, Steelers. Here we go. Here we go, Steelers. Here we go.
Let's go!
Let's go. What's up, Steelers Nation? I'm Tyler Feldman. This is the Locked On Steelers Squad Show. What a finish, 26-24. We will have a lot to talk about in the next hour.
And I'm Ben Bobick. Listen, the Steelers-Ravens rivalry is the absolute best in football, and the Pittsburgh Steelers are the absolute best in the AFC North.
And I'm Wayne Gandy. Tyler, Luke, come over for my birthday party. You are my new best friend. Let's go here on the Steelers Squad Show.
Wave those terrible towels. It's the Steelers Squad. Everything Pittsburgh Steelers every week. Breaking down all the big hits and game-changing plays from the Steel City. The way only the Locked On Podcast Network can. From the steel curtain to the next generation, the Steelers Squad Show starts now.
Yes, it does. This is the Steelers Squad Show, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. Tonight's episode is sponsored by Prize Picks. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, I'm your host and Pittsburgh native, Tyler Feldman. On tonight's show, we're talking all things Ravens. Steelers, a 26-24 win for the Steelers. The Steelers not only won the division, but they also clinch the final playoff spot in the NFL this season. An incredible, frenetic, fantastic finish at Acrisure Stadium at the confluence of the three rivers. Joining me on tonight's show, Double B, Ben Bobick, fellow Pittsburgher and sports anchor, as well as former Steelers offensive lineman, 15-year NFL veteran Wayne Gandy. And guys, this is about as good a finish. Ben, you said it. This rivalry has had some fantastic games, but the one we saw tonight, particularly at the end of the fourth quarter, you can't script a crazier finish. Wayne, your initial thoughts?
Oh, wow.
Let's go! Let's go! Y'all ready? Let's go! That's what I'm talking about, guys. That's my initial reaction right there. Let's get it going. Did you see it? Man, I love football. And it is one of those. It was a great game. It was like poetic. I mean, as you said, Tyler, you couldn't have written this game any better. It was dramatic. I think the three of us as a choir, we all felt like it was going to end in some kind of dramatic fashion. And we were just hoping to be on the winning side. But wow, just as a former player, as a fan of football and sports, I know some people, they love to go to the game with the comfort that they could just watch the game from beginning to end, winning. But that is the purest form of competition at the highest level there tonight. That was it. It was somebody got to make a play, guys making plays that haven't done anything all year, dramatic moments, Aaron Rodgers changing helmets, yelling at Arthur Smith, Mike Tomlin telling you, we came here to win. I'm Dan Campbell tonight. Who cares that we're on our side of the field? We're going for it. It's just an exciting game to see guys have to live up. The boy, the kid in you, when you get into this sport, sometimes you can drift away. The sport lets you drift away from the purity of competition. But tonight, the pads were popping, and you didn't feel like guys were out there saving anything. There was no checkbooks. There was no commercials. It was just football. And it was a delight to watch the game.
It really was, at least outside of the first quarter in particular. The second quarter got better. It was a slow start. It was not a slow finish. Wayne, you said poetic. Little Edgar Allan Poe, quote the Raven, nevermore. And nevermore will we have to see the Ravens again this season. Ben, your initial thoughts from this game?
Man, that was as good as it gets. That was as good as it gets. I mean, it's that last kick there, man. I remember I was sitting there and I had a moment with the big man upstairs. I'm like, God, what's one more crazy moment in this game? Come on, what's one more? And then right as the ball was snapped, that puppy went wide right, and it was amazing. That was the gift that keeps on giving. If like Wayne said, if you're a sports fan, and if you're a Steelers fan, obviously that's as good as it gets, man. That was so much fun to watch, and a win like that could really, really jolt you forward, because now you're in the tournament. Now you're in it. Now you just had a winner go home game. We talked about this, all week. From last week after the loss to Cleveland to now. I mean, the playoffs started a week early for the Steelers. They just won a winner-go-home game in their own building. Now they get another one here. They earned another week. They're getting a chance to play the Houston Texans. But I mean, that game was as good as it gets. It was awesome to see the offense sort of come to life there in the second half. And I was talking with you, Tyler, before we started this. It felt like it was two games in one. That first half was one game, and the second half was another. In particular, with how the Steelers were playing. So I mean, this is just as good as it gets. And we talk about the teams being in their bag and everything being on the table. I had my Troy Polamalu jersey on for the first half, and I'm like, you know what? This just isn't doing it. So I went to the closet. I got on my great uncle's Steelers jacket that has all the championships from the 70s on. I wore that in the second half. And you know what? We make changes at home, and we make the adjustments at halftime adjustments at home. That could be the difference. And that certainly, if you don't think that played a part in this win, I don't know what did.
I can't believe it. At the end of the broadcast on NBC, they showed a priest pregame dropping holy water in the end zone where the field goal was missed. I don't know about you, but I think it worked. There was divine intervention late in this football game. It started with Chris Boswell, but then someone upstairs said, no, we're not letting it end this way. That was not the intended divine intervention. Let's just talk about the field goals at the end really quickly. It happens. Misses happen, especially at that football stadium. Odd to see Chris Boswell push that extra point. At that point, Wayne, what was going through your head?
I was getting, putting my makeup on, thinking, okay, we got this. And then my face fell on the floor. And I was like, wow, the most sure kicker that we've seen in so long in those situations, pulling the ball, the pressure of the moment building up. I mean, let's be honest. This is why the NFL pushed the extra point back. When you think about it, they pushed it back to create these moments of uncertainty. You have to sit there and you have to watch, because at that distance, a kicker can miss. But it was just more buildup. Now I'm looking here. I'm almost like Ben. I didn't have any holy water, but I was saying a lot of prayers. Come on, defense. Somebody needs to get a sack. We push them to a fourth down. But on the other end, as we know in that stadium, we've seen great kickers struggle at different moments. Surprisingly, the ball seems to get pulled at different moments in that stadium, and it happened to both kickers. So you can't call Buffalo Wild Wings and try to act like it was just Raven fans. For the Steelers, both kickers missed important moments in the game.
The kick at the end, it was pushed right, and I was screaming. I think all of Steelers Nation was screaming, and now the Steelers, and we'll talk about this, but next up, it's Monday night on January 12th. They're hosting the Houston Texans and that top-ranked defense. But we've got to talk about this finish here at Acrisure Stadium. What a phenomenal game. There was so much riding, a winner-go-home situation. Wayne, what stood out to you the most, whether it was the Steelers offense, the defense, a specific play, a specific player that deserves recognition here in the first 15 minutes of this hour-long recap show?
Old man Cam Hayward deserves, to me, was the player of the game. Offense, defense, both teams. You're talking about a guy that really set the tempo early, and I felt like the rest of the D-line started following suit with him. The hand on the ball, setting up the interception for TJ, just the run defense, consistently pushing the pocket, the effort running to the sideline, chasing Derrick Henry. Just even waste that energy to run down there on that first long run. He was still trying to chase him down. He was running things to the sideline, and it just stood out to me the effort in which he was playing at this pivotal point in his career. As your leaders have to lead from the front, and he was definitely doing that for that defensive line, and we felt like that was going to be something that had to be in place to have a chance to stopping Derrick Henry. It wasn't there early on, but as the game went on, I think we really took hold of the defensive line, and it started with the captain there, Cam Hayward.
It really did. Certainly on that late third quarter, Hayward and Highsmith teaming up to tip that pass. TJ Watt with the interception. They had all that momentum suddenly. Renegade playing. They got a field goal out of that, and it was a 13-10 ball game. And then Highsmith again in the fourth quarter. He had a great game, but that play where he wasn't able to get to Lamar Jackson and that touchdown pass to Flowers, I thought that was critical. It was demoralizing. Patrick Queen was the linebacker dropping back in coverage, and I was, how did we get here? And suddenly it didn't matter. Well, it did matter, but then the Steelers have some sort of dark magic late in this ball game. Ben, when you look at certain players or personnel, what stood out to you the most in this one?
Yeah, certainly Cam, like Wayne said. I mean, this is the dude that was just on another level tonight, and like you could see. I know they mentioned it in the post game interview about the talk he gave the team before the game. I mean, you could tell that this is what you want out of a captain and a veteran in this football game. But another guy on the offensive side of the ball, obviously Aaron Rodgers, but Jaylen Warren is built for the Steelers-Ravens rivalry, man. I mean, this is a guy that just seeks contact and just has a relentless mindset to just never go down. I mean, a couple of his runs tonight were just sensational. Just when you think, oh, he's bottled up, or just when you thought, oh, he's only going to get a yard out of this, somehow he bounces off one guy, then he's going to get tackled, then he breaks another tackle. He's turning 2-3 yard runs into 13, 15-yard runs, a few of them tonight, which were huge because it kept the Steelers moving the sticks, it kept the offense in rhythm, and it kept the defense off balance. Like Jaylen Warren is just so, like, it's one of those situations with him, and I think this has sort of been a theme all season, where you come out of this game and you think, why didn't they give him the ball more for how well he was running the football and everything that kind of, everything he was doing tonight. And so I just thought he was great. And hey, who would have thunk that Pat Freiermuth would have been open over the middle on a couple big plays tonight, huh? Who would have thunk that 88 would have showed up when it came down to it? A couple big catches from our boy Freiermuth. Love to see him hopefully continue to get more involved in this offense, because you see how effective it is. I'm thinking about those two throws that Aaron Rodgers was able to rip to him up the middle. The big one over on one of the go-ahead touchdown drives, the 31-yarder down inside the 10 was a great route too, and obviously a big-time play. But just you got all the big-time play. You got all the plays, or the play from all the big-time players that you really wanted. And Jaylen Warren showed up. Aaron Rodgers, it's why you got him to lead a drive with 2:20 left and no timeouts, and he made it look elementary. It's everything you want in this sort of thing, and it's led him to the playoffs.
We've got 3 more quarters to get to. Also, for all of our new Steelers fans joining us on the show tonight, this is a supplement, 2 shows a week to Chris Carter's Monday through Friday daily Steelers podcast here on the Locked On Podcast channel. Of course, Chris Carter would be with us. He's at the press conference right now with Mike Tomlin. He's in the locker room with the players. He's adding to what we're doing here on the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. But coming up here on our second quarter of this Locked On Steelers squad show, live reaction after the Steelers' thrilling 26-24 win to win the division. They're the kings of the North, and they are playoff bound. We will have Bebo's best. We will dive into Wayne's world, and we will continue to break down some of the unsung heroes from this game here tonight. A thrilling, unbelievable finish. At some times of this game, I thought, I don't know if this is going to happen, but it's happening, and the Steelers are going to the playoffs. We'll be back second quarter right after this on the Squad Show. This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. The new year doesn't require a new you, maybe just a less burdened you. We all carry things that weigh us down or hold us back, and therapy can help you identify what those things are by offering an unbiased perspective to better understand your relationships, motivations, and emotions. That's where BetterHelp comes in, making it easy to get matched online with a qualified therapist who can help you work through what's holding you back. Maybe it's fear, pressure, perfection, or doubt that's been weighing you down. All BetterHelp therapists are fully licensed in the U.S. and work according to a strict code of conduct. They do the matching work for you. A short questionnaire identifies your needs and preferences, and with more than 12 years of experience, they typically get it right the first time. But if you're not happy with your match, you can switch to a different therapist at any time. With more than 30,000 therapists and an average rating of 4.9 out of 5 based on more than 1.7 million client reviews, BetterHelp has served more than 5 million people globally, and it works. BetterHelp makes it easy to get matched online with a qualified therapist. Sign up and get 10% off at betterhelp.com/lockedon. That's better, HELP.com/lockedon. This episode is also brought to you by Prize Picks. Whether you're starting a new routine or jumping into player projections for the first time, trying something new can feel like a challenge, but with Prize Picks, it always feels good to be right. With high-pressure football matchups every weekend and elite hoops action almost every night, the action never slows down, and Prize Picks lets you stay in control. Prize Picks is the daily fantasy app that makes watching sports even more exciting by letting you build lineups based on player projections. No drafts, no waiting, just pick more or less and play your way. Getting started on Prize Picks is quick and simple. The app is super easy to navigate. It's made watching games more engaging, especially when following individual player performances. I love the flexibility with options like Flex Play, where you can still get paid even if one pick misses. And the new early payouts feature is a game changer too. If a player starts hot, you can cash out before the game ends. So download the Prize Picks app today and use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. All right, back here on the Locked On Steelers Squad Show following the Steelers' division crowning victory 26-24 over the Baltimore Ravens. NFL veteran Wayne Gandy, Pittsburgh native Ben Bobick, I'm fellow Pittsburgher Tyler Feldman. So glad you're spending your Sunday night with us. Gentlemen, we were all excited after the end of that game. Now we've got to talk about some of the key plays and unsung heroes. Wayne, for you, which play really determined the result of this game?
I think to me the interception by TJ, the Cam Hayward deflecting the ball, it kind of took some momentum, turned the game around. The defense started clicking at a high level, really started humming, getting to Lamar Jackson. And the play, you brought up the Alex Highsmith play where 8 got away from him. And, that's why he's a 2-time MVP. He's so slippery in those situations. And when you look at it, they're scoring against the defense were those little breakdowns. When you get there, you have to make the play or he will punish you. But outside of that, I thought the defense was just playing at a high level. But if there was one play that seemed like it kind of jump-started or came at a key moment, it was that turnover. As we all know, this defense, this team, it thrives off of defensive turnovers. It's always hung its hat on that, getting some short field, getting some energy. But that was one of the first plays that kind of stood out for me.
Ben, what about you? Lamar Jackson finishing 11 of 18 passing. He did have 238 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, that 1 interception. It was a phenomenal play. He was sacked 3 times. It seemed like he didn't have the stamina, though, late in this game to make the right plays. And you have to credit the Steelers' defense.
Yeah, you absolutely do. And history tells you too that the Steelers have always played Lamar decently well, they over the course of his career. And I think they did do a great job of just a great job of kind of forcing the ball in his hand, knowing that he was going to be, because even if you look at, he wasn't 100% tonight. He hasn't been 100% all season long. And obviously the Steelers know that. So when you're forcing him into throwing situations by doing your best to stop Derrick Henry, who still had his 100-yard game, still did his thing. But I thought the Steelers did a decent job bottling up Derrick Henry. He had a couple big explosive runs, but that was really it. Like when it comes to the handful of explosive runs that he had, I thought the Steelers did a really nice job of keeping him, not letting him take over the game. To put it that way, that was key to them winning this football game tonight, was not letting Derrick Henry take over the football game, and he didn't. And it was forcing the ball into Lamar's hands, which they typically do when you have a guy like Lamar Jackson who's not 100%. You second guess some things back there. Your throwing mechanics might be off a little bit. Your instinct might be to run in some certain situations, and it's like, hey, maybe I shouldn't do that because I don't feel too great right now. Or you look at it like, oh, maybe I can make that guy miss, or I'm gonna have to take a hit on this run. I really don't want to. I'm gonna protect myself for the greater good of the team. And so it's that sort of thing too. And they've always been great with. I always think been really solid with Lamar and at least forcing the ball in his hands. It's just because even when you look at the touchdowns they had, it stinks, but a lot of them were, broken down plays in a way. You look at the first touchdown was obviously an all-out blitz, and he caught them, and Jalen Ramsey took a bad angle and came up, and they caught him. Zay Flowers was able to scorch him. Then the second long touchdown was when Alex Highsmith and Keanu Benton had him dead to rights. And that's a play I feel like they do over again. They get him on the ground, maybe, or at least they don't let that happen. So that's him making a marvelous play.
I'm still upset about that. I can't believe, like, how did you not, physically, how did you not take him down there? Because I feel like that's where Patrick Queen, he wasn't sleeping, but it was like the play was done, like right there.
Yeah. That's a play. That's something that's going to go on his highlight reel for his potential Hall of Fame induction later on in his career. If that's where he leads the Canton, that's one that gets on the highlight reel, because those are plays that I'm pretty sure only he could make. When you think about it, because it was just a subtle movement of slip through and then boom, and then not even just that, but him pointing downfield, told him, hey, break off the route, go, and then laying it in a bucket to Zay Flowers. And obviously the last one there was just a broken down coverage in a situation where they weren't in the right spot. So I think the Steelers, did a good job of not letting Derrick Henry take over the game, and then just trusting that they were able to make Lamar uncomfortable enough. Because think about that last drive there. The Ravens had the ball. I mean, I think Mike Tirico mentioned all they're really going to do is get a. I mean, granted, they did get in field goal range, but they got him on 4th and 7. They didn't make it look easy to get him in field goal range. Nick Herbig almost got him on the ground on that 3rd down. They had the penalty there. They did a good job in that aspect of things. Obviously, before the big 4th down conversion, and it took a great throw and catch for them to convert on 4th down. So I just think they just do such a good job of making him uncomfortable, especially in a game like this, knowing he's not 100%.
Wayne, I do want to go back to the first half because we can't totally overlook some of the things that happened. What were your thoughts on that 4th down play call where they pitched it left, kind of faked it right, and it didn't work right before halftime? At that point, my stomach just sank. I was like, here we go. Lost all the momentum. Should have took the points. I realize it doesn't matter now. The game was won, okay? But it seems like it takes a little bit of time for the Steelers team to warm up a little bit. And that was just one of those calls. I was like, maybe it could have worked, but all your blockers were on the other side of the field.
I thought it was the right call to go for it. I thought it was the wrong play to call. I really feel like being mentioned with Jaylen Warren. I think that each and every time he touched the ball, it was some hitting, some falling forward, some shoving, some pushing. I thought right there it was an excellent time to let him run and get that ball in the end zone. I really do. I think a lot of times, for some reason, the Steelers shy away from that. They try something like they did, a little trickery or some quick pass. I was thinking, okay, let's put it on my offensive line and this running back who seems to be, waiting on his opportunity. We didn't run him a lot tonight, but every time it was 6, 8, 12 yards, he was breaking tackles. So that play call was not something I would have ever thought they would try. And as you saw, there was 2 defenders out there unblocked. And I know you're trusting that Gainwell can make people miss, but in that situation, they had him dead to rights. But I do believe in the call, just the wrong play call.
I'm with you. I'm with you there. There was one point, Chris Collinsworth, I've never heard him so directly critical, but Aaron Rodgers overthrew Jonnu Smith, and Collinsworth said, that's terrible. You can't miss on home run plays like that. And it almost felt like the entire feeling toward the Steelers at that point in the first half was, this game's pretty much over. They showed us nothing. Ben, in your mind, what switched? Was it not getting in the end zone right before halftime that the Steelers came out with a little bit more fire in the third quarter?
Yeah, I think what was key, we mentioned earlier, what was a play or two that turned things around. It was that drive out the gate there in the to start the second half, which was gigantic for the Steelers to come out and score a touchdown and tie that game up like that, because that woke everybody up. Because you know how that there's that lull after the half there where, you know, some people are still in the bathroom or getting they're re-upping on their beverages and whatnot, but the Steelers are able to come out, go on a nice drive and cash it in for 6. That was big time, because say they come out and go 3 and out, or say they don't score out of that, and then you hand the ball back to the Ravens. And then if they go down there and get a field goal, now it's a 2-possession game, and the Steelers aren't too good playing from behind, especially when they had the lack of personnel they had at their disposal on offense. So I think that first drive out of the gate in the second half is really what turned it, because like we mentioned earlier, it felt like 2 different games. That first half, it was maddening, because you think back, I actually wrote down a couple key plays, and it was they went for it on 4th down in their own end, and they kept saying it was 4th and 1. That was every bit of 4th and 2. I mean, I know you call 4th and 1.5, but it was 4th and 2. And then they bust out the Pittsburgh plunge, and obviously you're not going to get it. And it was like, you're just not going to get it. And so I think they were a little bit reluctant to do it at the end of the first half, because that's when you pull it out, ball at the 1. And I mean, they did it. They literally did it to start the second half and scored a touchdown. I would have rather seen them do that than the play call that they had. But I'm on board. I think that's a consensus here too. You absolutely go for it there at the end of the half when you get the ball at the 1 with 2 seconds left, no doubt. And I think Chris Collinsworth alluded to it as well when he mentioned, I guess, the personnel that they were in, I guess the package that they were in. Aaron Rodgers really didn't have too many plays to check out of what they were doing, because they kept talking about how they were overmanned on the left side of the pitch to Gainwell, because they brought, I think it was Adam Thielen in motion, and no one came with them, and then they pitched it to the left, and they were overmanned out there, and then that's how they made the tackle. So I guess there wasn't a play or two they could have checked out of in that situation, so they kind of just were dead to rights in a way. But I would have rather have seen them come out and do the Pittsburgh plunge there. You know what? You don't get it up, bummer. Come out and this, it is what it is. And because to your point, I thought it was a bit demoralizing, but that first drive out of the gate in the second half I really do think it was season changing in the sense, because that changed the whole course of the football game, because then that led to the turnover, and then it led to the second half that transpired.
Certainly the TJ Watt interception sticks out to me. Also, that ball that Aaron Rodgers threw on a dime over the top to Adam Thielen, that ball told me that Aaron Rodgers is locked in. Wayne, I don't know if that's what it told you, but when he connected on that throw so seamlessly, I thought to myself, okay, maybe the Steelers have a chance to win this football game. Then the fourth quarter, obviously back and forth, making graphics that said colossal collapse and all this stuff back and forth, changing graphics in the last 10 minutes of the game. But Aaron Rodgers then post-game with Melissa Stark was borderline emotional. And then she asked if this was going to be it for him, and he kind of ignored that question and circled around it. But, well, I think this certainly means something to Aaron Rodgers. And Wayne, having played in the NFL for 15 years, when you get into the twilight of your career, what do you remember feeling on the back end of things in your career? I mean, it certainly means something to Aaron, clearly.
Yeah, and you saw it you look at Aaron and you look at Cam Hayward. That emotion that's driving you is understanding that we're at the position I'm in right now. Odds are I won't be in this position next year. You take it for granted that you're going to always be knocking on the door of the playoffs. And that's just not really how it goes. You can play a lot of meaningless football. And I think both of those guys, the way they were playing, the energy they were putting out there, they didn't want to go home. They didn't want this to be the end of their career. Aaron Rodgers, as time is ticking, you put that and you see it on the calendar, but until you walk out on that field and realize this is the last time I'm going to be here, or the uncertainty of the next season, that even if I come back, how far off will I be to even be at this place to be in the playoff? Everything I want is sitting right here in front of me. And I think that's the emotion. No matter how tough you try to be, you have to always remember you're taking away the one thing. I got 10 PhDs in this. This is me. As much as I try to get the public to think, oh, there's another me, this is the defining part of me. I won't ever get to do this again. And very few, seldom, I always tell people, football is not like basketball or baseball, where you can just go down to the community center or Lifetime Fitness and pick up a game. When it's over, I haven't had pads on since 2010.
You have had a helmet on.
Dust his helmet off. When I went and got it, it had dust on it. I went to rub it. I had to get a towel. That's the last time I had it on. There was no need to put that on. And sometimes that emotion hits you. It's just like you saw the Ravens sitting on that bench. You get stuck. As much as you try to play it off that it's just a game and it doesn't mean much, and you find yourself back to being 12 and you lost the game and you can't control your emotions. And it was just great to see both of those guys deep from the front. Aaron Rodgers seeing where he is. I think that's why we keep hearing these rumblings. Well, maybe I'll try it again. Because that's where you get, you get there. There was still something in the tank for Phillip Rivers. The competitor in him made him want to run back out there for, I got 10 kids, a grandkid. I'm a high school football coach, but somebody calls, I might go through a couple passes. And I just felt like, it was just great to see. And I think that's the Aaron Rodgers you'll see even next week against the Texans. He's going to his whole life as an athlete is going to continue to weigh on him, because you really are standing at the door, and the door is opening for you to leave.
Speaking of the Texans and Phillip Rivers, the Texans beat the Colts 38-30 today. That's a lot of points for that top-ranked Texans defense to give up, but a lot of the number 2s and 3s came in late in that ball game. Should be a good matchup next week in Pittsburgh on Monday night. We've reached halftime here on the Locked On Steelers Squad Show. I want to thank everyone for tuning in, including Thig Fernandez from Finland here. Woke up at 4 a.m. to watch the game. This team will kill me someday. But that day is not today.
It's not today.
You have lived to see another day, and that is a true blessing. When we come back, we'll dive into Wayne's World, Bebo's Best, and we'll look ahead to that Texans matchup. That's all right here on the Locked On Steelers Squad Show. Kicking off the year feeling good is the goal, right? And honestly, hydration is the easiest win. When I stay on top of it, my energy, focus, and mood all level up. But let's be real, plain water doesn't always cut it, especially when you're grinding through long days, hitting the gym, or just trying to stay consistent with your health goals. That's where Drip Drop comes in. Doctor-developed, proven fast hydration that helps your body and mind work better. Think clearer, focus, better energy, elevated mood, even with that fresh skin glow. I've been using Drip Drop as part of my daily routine, and it's honestly a game changer, not just for workouts, but every single day. I love that it uses a precise ratio of electrolytes and glucose for rapid absorption, delivering 3 times the electrolytes and half the sugar of leading sports drinks. And it tastes amazing. I'm obsessed with all 16 original flavors. Drip Drop, science-backed formula is trusted by firefighters, medical professionals, podcast hosts, and over 90% of top college and pro teams because it rehydrates you faster and more effectively than water alone. They have flexible subscription options, so you're never stuck without it, whether you're hitting the gym, juggling work, or just staying consistent with your goals. Right now, Drip Drop is offering podcast listeners 20% off your first order. Go to dripdrop.com and use code LOCKEDONNFL. That's dripdrop.com, promo code LOCKEDONNFL for 20% off. Stock up now at dripdrop.com and use promo code LOCKEDONNFL. All right, second half, third quarter here on the Locked On Steelers Squad Show. Former Steeler Wayne Gandy Pittsburgh native Ben Bobick, fellow Pittsburgher, Tyler Feldman here with you on a late Sunday night. Just still in awe of the Steelers' 26-24 win over the rivals to win the AFC North, clinch the final playoff spot in the NFL this season on the final night, the final game, and now it's playoffs next week, Monday night against the Texans back in Pittsburgh. But now it's time to dive into Wayne's World. Wayne, so much to digest from this one tonight. But Wayne's World, we go into your brain, the 15-year NFL veteran, and hear your thoughts on a more personal level.
Well, the entire game and really over the last, I would say, 4 to 6 weeks, I've been loving this carefree Mike Tomlin. It is, we've talked this season about different players, the coaching, and Mike Tomlin of old. And when I say of old, I'm talking about last season. I'm talking about the first 6-7 games. He takes the points. He never really goes for something on his side of the field. And to me, whether he makes it or not, it's a tempo. I don't know if Aaron Rodgers is rubbing off on him. He's getting out. I don't know if social media and the world of calling for his job, but there's something about him that, to me, in this game tonight really stood out. And that was that edge of not worrying about tomorrow. We're just trying to win tonight. And to me, a lot of, he didn't make it, he shouldn't have went for it. But you need sometimes to set the tempo for your team. That we didn't. I told you Wednesday, Thursday, Friday we were going to try to win, and you have to live up to that on game day. We came out here to win, try to win the game. He would have taken the points. The Mike Tomlin we know, he would have taken those 3 points a year ago and went in the locker room 10-6. But this Mike Tomlin, to me, it's just encouraging that maybe we have awoken the next stage of him, where he's going to, play a little more trickery, a little more, hey, we can't just predict what might, because I think the three of us, we have a template and we just lay it on top of the game. This is what Mike Tomlin's going to do. And he's breaking out of that a little bit over the last couple of games. And to me, that bodes well for the team. And even wherever Mike Tomlin ends up, hopefully he's still in the black and gold next year, that you can't just come here, play the Steelers and predict, Mike, he's going by the stat sheet. He's going to go this. If we get him in this situation, they're going to do this. No, I think we're seeing a little more, hey, why not kind of attitude from the head man.
Tomlin's template, batteries not included. I think that's a great Wayne's World, Wayne. Seriously, we've seen it, and it paid off tonight. Maybe it didn't pay off in certain circumstances or instances, but with all the reports that have been out this week about Tomlin maybe stepping aside, not being fired, but going into TV or doing something else, he has the right to do that. He's carved out a phenomenal coaching career at the highest level. But now with this victory and you get to prepare for a playoff game, I feel like it changes the conversation a little bit. I definitely see Mike Tomlin coming back to coach again next year. Ben, Bebo's best. What's the best that Bebo saw tonight?
T.J. Watt. We're talking about a guy that had a collapsed lung he had a procedure on his lung a few weeks ago, and he battles his way back to play in this football game, and not just play in this football game, make a high-level impact in it as well. And in that cold weather, in a very physical football game, a collapsed lung. That is unbelievable to me. And there's people, I have friends, we obviously did different group chats. We talk about the Steelers and a few of them are saying, like, I don't even know why he's even playing. Like, why? I don't think it's safe for his health. It's not just an injury thing. It's completely different. The fact that he was able to battle back and play in this game and that made a difference. Not just so much, obviously it did because he had an interception, made a couple great tackles, and was obviously making an impact. But just the fact that he's on the field, that was in Lamar Jackson's head. I think about actually that play to Isaiah Likely there at the end. I know it ended up, looking bad for the Steelers. They made the play, but I mean, it was a half second away from TJ Watt's paw grabbing Lamar Jackson and ending the game. And I saw it right before it was happening. I'm like, he's going to beat that, right? He's going to beat that guy because there's just no way someone is stopping TJ Watt from making the game-winning play here. And credit to Lamar, he got it out just in the nick of time, or else we'd be having a different conversation. No, same conversation, but at least a different journey to get there to the victory. But I just think it's just remarkable for him to battle back and to play the way he did, to play the amount of snaps that he played tonight, to make an impact for this team in a game like this. Just speaks a lot to his character. And it is past due for this man to get his first playoff win as a Pittsburgh Steeler. And he's going to get an opportunity on Monday night against Houston. It's pretty crazy to think about a guy like TJ Watt, who's a first ballot Hall of Famer in my book, has yet to win in the playoffs. And it's past due. And it's time, and he's thinking about it. That defense is thinking about it. You saw from Cam Hayward, that effort from tonight in the team and the belief to win. But just TJ Watt, when you think about the journey of the freak accident of him just having to go have a procedure on his lung to battle back and play in this football game and have the impact he did, is next level stuff. You talk about being the top 1% of the 1%. That's TJ Watt in the sense of the way he's able to battle back and play in this game, man. And I thought it was funny when he said in the post-game press in the post-game interview there, they said, "Oh, you look like you're doing okay." He's like, "Yeah, we're going to find out tomorrow." But I think everyone's going to find out tomorrow how they're feeling. But it just a hats off to one of the greatest Steelers of all time and one of the best Steelers-Ravens game of all time.
His wattage certainly seemed pretty high tonight. I'll say that. And wouldn't it be funny if he got his first ever playoff win against his big brother's former team? That would be something else. What about Keanu Benton? 7 tackles in this one. I thought he was a standout. Highsmith had a sack. Derek Harmon had a sack. That Nick Herbig sack early. A lot of guys defensively really came to play. Wayne, I do want to ask you about the secondary, because if I was to pinpoint one area that seemed a little bit holy and not the holy water that was dropped on the end zone, but physically like Swiss cheese, I'd say the secondary is maybe my biggest concern going into the wild card game next week.
Yeah, but when you look at the secondary, this was not week 1 secondary. This was not week 8 secondary. We got Asante Samuel Jr. starting at corner with Kyle Duggar, 2 guys that I didn't know those 2. I've seen this. I thought Samuel was still with the Chargers, and I didn't know Kyle Duggar from any Duggar walking in. You move Jalen Ramsey from corner to safety, and you're in the playoffs. You won the division. You're just getting what you can get. Just strap and keep fighting until you get some cohesiveness back there. As soon as I get one guy in and get him comfortable, now I'm missing another piece. And I just thought that I'm right with you, Tyler. It is definitely a big improvement that is needed in the next 7 days on that back end. But I do have to give them credit for and all those guys, Thielen, Valdez, Scantling. We're talking about guys making an impact to help us win the division and make the playoff game, that Halloween was not even on the roster. They're out there making not just the beautiful throw, Thielen making that catch at 35, 36. I mean, it was remarkable. It was just as great of a catch to be able to catch that ball like that. Valdez Scantling, I think he had like 5 or 6 catches trying to get him in, make up for all what DK Metcalf left us in. I just thought that that depth, I thought all the new characters that have come into this storybook over the last 4 or 6 weeks did a great job. But I'm with you on that. The secondary definitely has a lot of improvement to work on here in the next 5-6 days.
And how fitting that Calvin Austin, of all people, catches the game-winning touchdown. No DK. The Steelers had gone 6 quarters without finding the end zone. They finally find the end zone in the 3rd quarter. And then you get Calvin Austin back at least closer to full strength, healthy enough to play. And he's the guy who steps up and makes that game-winning touchdown catch. Just a lot of fantastic puzzle pieces coming together to see the full picture. I don't think the full picture was seen in this game because of some injuries, but DK Metcalf will be back for that playoff game next Monday night against the Texans. And when we come back, we will talk about that matchup right here on the Locked On Steelers Squad Show. But first, the NFL season is in full swing, and there's nothing like being at the game, the crowd noise, the energy, renegade, cheering alongside other fans. Watching at home is great, but being in the stadium certainly hits different. The frustrating part has always been getting tickets, though, waiting in queues, dealing with logins, and watching prices change right at checkout. That's why the Game Time app gives the advantage back to fans. It's the hack for unlocking amazing NFL tickets and experiences in just a few taps. I pulled up the Game Time app to check out upcoming NFL games and found great ticket options almost instantly. The app is incredibly intuitive. Browsing, comparing, and buying tickets took just minutes. One of my favorite features is being able to see the view from my seat before buying, so there are no surprises. The zone deals stood out too. That's where you pick the section and Game Time picks the seats, and you save even more. Seeing NFL tickets available for around $100 makes it easy to plan a game day trip. And I really like that fees are included up front, so the price you see is exactly what you pay. Also, knowing tickets are backed by Game Time Guarantee gives me real peace of mind. So take the guesswork out of buying NFL tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL. That's LOCKEDON NFL. For $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDON NFL for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today and get back to being there live. Final quarter here on the Locked On Steelers Squad Show. Live reaction show after the Steelers 26-24 victory over the Ravens. They are the Kings of the North once again, and they are heading to the playoffs to take on the Houston Texans Monday night, 8:15 Eastern in Pittsburgh at the confluence of the Three Rivers. The game will be on ESPN ABC, and I'm fired up. I mean, this is a top defense taking on a Steelers team that is found itself, but still has some more discovery to do, I think. The Steelers now 10-7. They're 6-3 at Acrisure Stadium. The Texans 12-5 after their win over the Colts here in Week 18. They're 5-3 on the road. Wayne, when you look at this matchup more than a week out, for me, it's the defense that the Texans have. That's the big difference maker, and that's why early on I'm looking at the Texans to win that football game. But how can the Steelers offensively take down a stout defense that the Texans have?
Let it snow, baby. Let it snow. Let the snow come in. Let it get real cold. Can somebody call it? Call it on that old Miami weather. Let it be 12 degrees. I talked about this. The best part of winning the division is that you get a home game. Well, you end up playing a team like the Chargers, or in this instance, the Texans, who play on artificial grass. They play inside. They're used to warming up, doing push-ups, the shirt off. Now let's see if we can get it cold. I don't know the temperature, but I do know a sloppy grass field on a cold Monday night sets up well to slow down Will Anderson coming off of that corner, rushing the passer. It's just one of those things. I think whenever you play a top-notch defense, and the Steelers has faced a lot of those this season, you got to be able to run the ball, and you got to get vertical and make some big shots. So can DK Metcalf come back I'm hoping he's very motivated. I'm hoping he's very mad that you and Ben took that $500,000 from him. I got to get me some get back for all of you that's doubting me and took my money. And, you know, I'm hoping he comes back with that chip on him to attack a guy like Derek Stingley, I think is his name, their top corner on their team in those situations, and make some big plays. But anytime you're at home, no matter what and who you play, you have a better chance. Whenever you have the weather and the difference in where one team plays, it does count in the playoffs more than people think. And the Steelers, we've seen them Jekyll and Hyde. They exploded in the second half. Offensively, they went to work. They found themselves, being able to open up the offense, go to full wide. To me, sometimes they don't have a lot of continuity because they're trying so many different things, and then it's like, oh, you know what? We do have Pat Freiermuth. Okay, Pat, your turn. And it's like, they're all over the place sometimes, which is kind of chaotic in itself. But I believe that they can find a way through establishing the run and see what Mr. Metcalf has in his bag of tricks when he comes back, because we're going to need some explosive plays on that back end.
According to AccuWeather.com, and this is 8 days out, but next Monday in Pittsburgh, high of 42, probability of precipitation 17%. The real feel will be 36 degrees. So it might just be a cooler winter day at the confluence of the three rivers. And wow, look at this. Look at this. Are we going to bring Chris Carter to the stage?
Look at this man.
He's working his audio, but look at the size of his hand. Can we get the hand back blocking your face? Or no, we need to see the face. Can you hear us?
We're just taking this out.
Well, we're getting Chris working here on the audio. Ben, when you look at the Texans,
we're back.
Oh, we're back?
Here we go.
Yeah, I just said you forget the mic. We're just talking to the phone.
Oh, a mic drop before
Yeah,
he even
baby.
talks. Love it.
There we go,
Love
baby.
God,
Let's
Double
go.
what a
Double
game.
C. How we feeling?
I just I ran out of a cigar smoke filled locker room where they were playing some song with a lot of bass, so I couldn't really hear anything Calvin Austin said about his game-winning touchdown.
Little Fergie. For
yeah.
sure, Fergie.
For sure, it was Fergie with a lot of bass and things we cannot repeat on this show. But it was an insane environment, gentlemen. Not only this stadium, but just the Steelers, the resilience they had throughout this game. I got to talk with Aaron Rodgers, TJ Watt, and Cam Hayward after the game. And Aaron Rodgers he was talking about how there were certain plays, like some of the things that they hit to Pat Freiermuth throughout the game. They were things that he said, we talked about this in training camp. We haven't called it all year. We haven't done it, but we're ready for this. And they hit it. And Cam Hayward, TJ Watt both said that's why we brought him here. In fact, TJ Watt even said at one point, he said, I went to Cam and I said, when after the Ravens scored, he said, Aaron's got us. And Cam was like, you know that? He's like, oh, he's got us. And then he leads that touchdown drive and the confidence that they have. This group, I think, is just remarkable in how resilient it is. And in this game, I said all week, when they let Derrick Henry get over 100 yards, they lose. This is the first time they've ever beaten a team with Derrick Henry where he's gotten over 100 yards and they've won. I said they needed to limit Lamar Jackson's explosive pass game. They allowed 3 explosive passing touchdowns. Just all the things that you weren't supposed to do, but they still found a way to win. I am blown away by how much this team fights back in the face of adversity right now.
Chris, since we have you, what were you feeling the last 5 to 6 minutes of game time in this football game, and talking with some of the players, what were they feeling on the back and forth at the end?
Patrick Queen said on the last field goal he couldn't look. He said I just stared straight ahead. Cam Hayward and TJ Watt were in on the play, and Cam said he dove, he turned back, and he just saw it going wide right. And he was like, God bless. Like we got one. But I got to say, as a reporter, I've covered some crazy games. I covered the 39-38 win in 2017 when TJ Watt sacked Joe Flacco and the ball rolled out of bounds and the time ran out. I've covered a lot of close games, and this is right up there with the craziest of them. For this. And I'm telling you, when the Ravens scored with the Zay Flowers touchdown, I said they left Aaron Rodgers too much time. And how many times in the past 6 years have we said you left the Steelers offense too much time? And they actually did. And then Aaron Rodgers seeing Calvin Austin, he said he even kind of gave him a look. He said a lot of things when he was asked about that play, about how it broke down and what they had worked on to make stuff like that happen. And he said as soon as that guy slipped, we knew it. I think he said even Pat Freiermuth in the huddle just looked at Calvin and said, cook him. And cook him he did, and Aaron Rodgers hit him for the score. For this team to not give up despite the early, with Derrick Henry, first play, he busts out for a huge run and gets called back for some. But, Cam Hayward said that bludgeoned us a bit. But for them to lock back in, to make Derrick Henry not a factor in the second half and say, Lamar, go beat us with your passing game, and almost did. I think it puts a huge emphasis on this Steelers team, or if it's a huge positive note for this Steelers team, that they continue to battle back. The thing that we were saying on this show back when they were losing to the Bengals, when they were losing to the Packers, when they were losing to the Bills and the Chargers, was, man, they didn't get off the mat. When they got hit, they didn't hit back. And in this game, it was a slugfest, though. They hit, the Ravens hit. They hit, the Ravens hit. And that, to me, is the epitome of a Mike Tomlin coach team. They came back and fought. It's what he instills. Cam Hayward said that's what he does for us. He challenges us. He said he stirs the pot. He called out people all week. He said we have to stop Derrick Henry. Can't let him break the game. And I think that says a lot about how this game went back and forth, but this team never blinked. They blinking to cut your eyelids off, right? And I think that played a huge role in them pulling out this win.
Chris, we've got about 5 minutes to go here on this squad show tonight. Do appreciate you hopping on. The last question I have for you is Chris Boswell. Was he available to the media? Did any of his teammates kind of pick him up? It's odd to see him miss an extra point, and it was a critical one.
I didn't see him. He often.
I think Chris said he often leaves, and then Chris actually left as he was saying that. So very much on par with what he was saying was actually the action he took. Needless to say, gentlemen, Ben, your final thoughts on this game. We will be coming back on Wednesday to preview the Texans matchup. We will have much more on that wild card game, middle of the week, Wednesday night, as always. But Ben, your final thoughts on this one tonight.
Yeah, I thought Chris actually made a great point there about how they just kept coming. They were able to get off the mat tonight, and I think that was key. And you think about the couple of those key plays they missed. We talked about them. The Ravens scored on the fourth down in the first half. Them not getting the 4th and 2, and then obviously the Ravens getting 3 points off it, and then obviously Aaron Rodgers not missing Jonnu Smith over the middle, and then the end of the half not getting any points out of it. That's a sort of thing that loses your football games, and the fact that they were able to come up and win the game despite those things happening shows a lot to what the Steelers can do. And you know what? Like we mentioned earlier, man, this was a playoff game tonight, and they already got a winner. They already won a winner go home game, and so hopefully that instills a little mojo in them.
All right, Chris is back. He was saying someone left, and then he actually somehow left the room, but he's back because he works and operates diligently. Chris, what were you saying?
Just saying, Chris Boswell has often leaves the locker room. He's one of the players that talks the least to us in the media. It's just not his style. And like I've even talked to Ben Sauls, who's the Giants kicker right now, former Pitt kicker. Like I asked Ben Sauls about Chris Boswell, and he said one of the things about him is that man, he walks the way he walks. He does not care about anything else but his job, and that's how he operates. And it's like it's not a mean thing. It's just that's how he has to operate to stay focused. And that is why when he missed the extra point, and it didn't feel a lot like that Lions game when he missed the field goal towards the end, and you're just like, oh man, the Lions could win with the touchdown. This could be over. Yeah. And when they missed that, I was just like, all the Ravens have to do is get in field goal range. And then when they force a 4th and 7, TJ beats his man. He's coming down. Lamar makes a great throw. Isaiah Likely makes a great catch. That's the other thing about this game, guys. For Chris Boswell, it was disappointing that he missed that. But like this Ravens team did not lay down. This was not a game where the Ravens came in and just played terribly all the way through. This is a game where they were able to play. They were able to play against the Ravens team that hit you with big plays on offense and defense. Just spectacular job there.
All right, Double C, we appreciate you hopping on. When we'll
Thanks,
get your
fellas.
final thoughts, and then we will catch up with Double C with his Locked On Steelers daily podcast throughout this week. We'll have the squad show on Wednesday. But before we sign off entirely, Chris, you can leave if you need to get going with what you need to
fellas.
do. We will bid you farewell. Wayne, your final thoughts on the night that was.
Well, first, I'm not going to let Ben Bobick off the hook other night. You thought I was going to let him off. I'm not going to let you off, Ben. You thought I forgot. I did not forget.
I've never been more excited to be wrong.
One of those three predicted the Ravens was going to win. And you know it's not me, because what do? I hate the Ravens.
Hate the
so
Ravens.
You know I didn't pick them. But no, but Tyler, it just was a pleasure to watch the game. It's a pleasure to be on here with you guys this late at night talking about it. And just to see the Steelers show that, as Chris said, resiliency. We said 10-7, 11-6. Just got to adjust how we're going to get there. Well, it took the whole season to get there, but we're finally in the playoffs. And now we can talk about the Texans.
What a night. One of those games you'll remember for a very long time. So glad Double C could join us. A reminder, you can listen to the audio of tonight's show on the Locked On Steelers podcast channel, wherever and however you podcast. Like I said, Chris Carter will be rocking and rolling with an episode. It will come out, I don't know, whenever it comes out, it'll come out. He's probably working diligently through the night with the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, as well as his duties here with us on the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 podcast network. And hey, remember to like and subscribe. We appreciate everyone tuning in tonight. A thrilling 26-24 victory for the Pittsburgh Steelers over their rivals, the Baltimore Ravens, to win the division, Kings of the North, and they're in the playoffs, taking on the Houston Texans Monday night. That's next Monday night, January 12th at 8:15. That'll do it, though, for this Sunday night, Week 18 edition. Steelers, Ravens, live recap on the Locked On Steelers Squad Show for former Steelers offensive lineman Wayne Gandy and Pittsburgh native Ben Bobick. I'm fellow Pittsburgher Tyler Feldman saying good night, and here we go. We'll see you next time, Wednesday night, to preview that Texans-Steelers playoff matchup.
Let's go!
Let's go!